Massive Russian attacks on Ukraine from all sides as Zelensky refuses Trump deal without tweaks. Russian forces burn Ukraine's capital and power center, Kyiv. Just after US-led talks to end nearly four-year war falter, large-scale Russian strikes kill 3 people, cut power to thousands in freezing winter temperatures across Ukraine on Tuesday. Russia attacked with 635 drones and 38 missiles, Ukraine's Air Force confirms. Ukraine's maritime infrastructure destroyed. Putin's military goes berserk in Ukrainian port city. Ukrainians woke up to massive strikes from the mighty Russian military. The Russian forces carried out an early morning attack on December 23rd on key Ukrainian cities and towns. The Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, was the main target. Air raid sirens blared through the streets. Ukraine's military confirmed its air defenses scrambled to intercept incoming threats. An advisory for the residents of Kyiv came right after. Stay in shelter. No all clear, no timeline, just wait. Authorities are still assessing the full scale of the assault. From Kyiv in north-central Ukraine to the southern coastline, Russia's military onslaught spared no region. Once again, Odesa, Ukraine's vital port city, faced Russian fire. Explosions triggered widespread power outages, placing maritime infrastructure on edge. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Kuleba called the strikes systematic, warning that the focus of the war may now be shifting toward Odesa. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the repeated attacks are aimed at cutting Ukraine off from maritime logistics. Kyiv believes Moscow is retaliating for Ukrainian drone strikes on Russia's so-called shadow fleet in the Black Sea. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the repeated attacks were an attempt by Moscow to block Ukraine's access to maritime logistics. The attack on Odesa is part of Russian President Vladimir Putin's threat to sever Ukraine's access to the sea as retaliation for drone attacks on tankers of Russia's so-called shadow fleet in the Black Sea. It was also the latest in a series of hundreds of strikes that have disrupted power supplies in the region for days on end and caused several casualties. Last week, a ballistic missile strike on the Pivdeny port east of Odesa killed 8 people and injured at least 30. The timing is striking. Russia's aerial assault comes just days after US-led peace talks in Miami on December 21st. US and Ukrainian negotiators hailed the talks as productive and constructive. Zelensky said that nearly 90% of Ukraine's demands have been incorporated into the draft agreements. Zelensky also revealed that Russia has rejected any Christmas ceasefire, calling it a sign of intimidation and warning that Moscow could deliberately launch massive strikes during Christmas itself. As diplomacy struggles to gain ground, the war shows no sign of ebbing.
A diplomatic one is currently unfolding. Our group is currently returning from Miami. They'll be arriving sometime tonight, and by tomorrow morning I'll have all the specific details. From my point of view, everything we were supposed to do for the initial drafts is already in place. There are 20 points in the plan. Probably not everything is perfect, but the plan is there. There are security guarantees between us, the European countries, and the United States of America as a framework document. There is a separate document between us and the United States of America, bilateral security guarantees.
What we are seeing, these issues, they must be thoroughly considered by the Congress of the United States of America, marking banks and energy companies. This takes hundreds of billions of dollars from Putin, which he...
I saw, once again, the initial prototypes, almost 90%, to be honest, of those very applications that are important for us, that our army and Ukraine can truly count on. And after the signing of such guarantees, how truly strong can we expect ourselves to be? And all of this, as it stands today, appears quite dignified and honorable. However, these are, for the time being, the preliminary developments and the dedicated efforts of our military personnel. It's encouraging that it's not only from our side. Why? Because when these efforts are solely ours, we wish for much, but it's not certain it will all materialize. But here, it's crucial that these efforts are both ours and the United States. This indicates we are very close to a real result. And also the first draft of the treaty has been developed. The restoration of Ukraine, a comprehensive economic strategy. Our nation, our people, our defense, the heroism of Ukrainian men and women. There is no other country like it now. The fundamental core framework of all documents, in my opinion, is now ready. The fundamental one. There are some things for which we, I suppose, are probably not ready. And there are things which I am certain, for which the Russians are not ready. The Americans have now remained for negotiations with this side, with representatives from Russia. They will be speaking, and then we will receive their feedback. They have already received all the necessary information from Azani. For the first time in Ukraine's history, the support for our nation is truly global.
We have successfully united Europe around. What's the problem with this whole story?
And the unfortunate part of the story is that, for example, when the Germans and the Americans, they very much wanted to establish a Christmas truce or a Christmas ceasefire. Not that this necessarily means the end of the war, but it's always a clear signal that the opposing sides want to find something, some kind of diplomatic path and diplomatic movement. I believe this is quite a bad signal, and it's not even anything new that the Russians immediately sprung up and quickly stated, no, we absolutely don't want anything like that. The actual issue isn't simply that they claim they don't want it. This is clear to us. The problematic issue here is that when Russia declares there will be no Christmas ceasefire, I believe that what they are saying is, in principle, always them highlighting these kinds of threats.
Security guarantees must be formally established in peace agreements, so they are not just a political declaration.
Well, it's in their character for Christmas because, precisely on our Christmas, yes, that's right, to launch some kind of massive strike. And so I'd like to add, well, today we had a session on this, and the number one priority was the issue of air defense, the protection of our cities, our villages, and our communities, especially on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of the month. We really need to pay close attention to this. Well, the military personnel themselves must pay very close attention and defend as best they possibly can. Everything is extremely difficult right now because there's a significant deficit of air defense systems, which unfortunately is a harsh reality. And people also need to pay attention, very close attention in these coming days, because these comrades are quite capable of launching significant targeted strikes.
There is nothing sacred about it.
Дискуссии проходят конструктивно, начались и продолжатся сегодня, и также продолжатся завтра.
U.S.-led diplomatic efforts to end the war in Ukraine gained momentum over the past several days, as American, European, Ukrainian, and Russian officials held parallel rounds of talks in Florida. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said discussions held over 3 days in Miami were productive and constructive, with a focus on aligning positions between Washington, Kyiv, and European partners on a potential path toward ending the nearly 4-year conflict. Taking on social media, Witkoff said meetings with Ukrainian and European officials centered on developing a shared strategic framework. According to Witkoff, the talks addressed 4 key pillars: further refinement of a U.S.-drafted 20-point peace plan, multilateral security guarantees for Ukraine, a separate U.S.-led security guarantee framework, and economic recovery plans aimed at rebuilding Ukraine after years of war. Over the past 3 days in Florida, a Ukrainian delegation led by Rustem Umerov and Lieutenant General Andriy Hanatov held constructive talks with U.S. and European counterparts, including Special Envoys Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and senior White House officials. The discussions focused on advancing a 20-point peace plan, aligning U.S. and multilateral security guarantees, and developing an economic recovery framework with emphasis on timelines and next steps. Ukraine reaffirmed its commitment to a just, durable peace and thanked the United States and partners for their leadership and support. He added that negotiators paid particular attention to timelines and the sequencing of next steps, stressing that peace must offer a dignified foundation for a stable future. The Miami meetings came as President Donald Trump continues to push for a swift resolution to the conflict. However, fundamental differences remain. Russia has signaled it wants to retain Ukrainian territory it currently occupies, while Kyiv has repeatedly rejected any territorial concessions.
Well, they're getting close to something, but I hope Ukraine moves quickly. I hope Ukraine moves quickly because Russia's there. And, every time they take too much time, then Russia changes their mind. 27,000 soldiers were killed last month. Think of that. What do you think of that, doctors? 27,000, it's like a half a football stadium, were killed in 1 month.
Running parallel to the Ukraine-focused talks, Witkoff and Trump advisor Jared Kushner also met with Russian President Vladimir Putin's special envoy, Kirill Dmitriev. In a post on X, Witkoff described those discussions as constructive and said Dmitriev had met with an American delegation that included Kushner and White House official Josh Grunbaum. Witkoff wrote that Russia expressed commitment to achieving peace and appreciation for U.S. involvement, though neither side disclosed concrete outcomes. Dmitriev, in a brief comment, said talks would continue and hinted at further engagement, saying, "Thank you, Miami. Next time, Moscow." U.S. and European officials have acknowledged progress on security guarantees for Ukraine, though it remains unclear whether Moscow would accept those terms. The Kremlin has now taken a cautious tone. Putin's foreign policy aide, Yuri Ushakov, said Dmitriev would brief the Russian president upon returning home and warned that Moscow remains skeptical of revisions proposed by Ukraine and European states. Ushakov argued that European-backed changes to U.S. peace proposals could undermine prospects for a lasting settlement, though he acknowledged he had not reviewed the documents directly. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov echoed that sentiment, saying European participation in negotiations does not bode well for progress. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence assessments continue to suggest that Putin has not abandoned his territorial ambitions, according to multiple sources familiar with the intelligence. Responding to a Reuters report, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said U.S. assessments indicate Russia does not currently have the capability to conquer all of Ukraine or threaten Europe. Still, uncertainty remains over whether Moscow would accept the current peace framework.
And do so specifically in this case in order to try to pull the U.S. military into a direct conflict with Russia, which is ultimately what the EU and NATO want. We cannot allow this to happen. We have to see clearly what's happening before our very eyes and stand united in this cause of peace.
Meanwhile, on NBC's Meet the Press, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said it was unclear whether Putin would agree to the deal and warned of tougher measures if talks fail. Graham suggested targeting ships carrying sanctioned Russian oil and called for Russia to be designated a state sponsor of terrorism over the alleged deportation of Ukrainian children. The leaked U.S.-drafted peace proposal reportedly includes provisions requiring Ukraine to remain outside NATO, limit its military size, and relinquish control of parts of the Donbass region in exchange for Western security guarantees, according to reports. Ukraine and its European allies have rejected those terms. Russia, for its part, insists any settlement must include Ukrainian neutrality and recognition of what it calls realities on the ground.